cohort of federal workers that could be on the chopping block as Elon Musk and Doge continue to look at how to make the government more efficient. And is that with major cuts, major reduction? These people rallying to hope that that does not happen at the level of the VA hospital. Congresswoman Shontel Brown just now starting to address the people who have showed up at this rally. Let's take a listen in.
Workers at the VA, we're talking about reducing services. And it's already too many people that are suffering. So this is not going to benefit anyone except their billionaire buddies. That's what this is all about. Trying to find money for their $4.5 trillion Trump 2.0 tax cut. But we're not going to take it lying down. The billionaires are making millions of dollars per day while we suffer. Elon Musk, $8 million per day is what he's making. And he thinks that eliminating workers at the VA is going to be saving this country. The people who put the country on their back, you guys who fought for us to be able to do what we're doing right now, they don't want to see this. They don't want to see you speaking up. They don't want to see you standing up and speaking out. But we're not going to take it. So we're going to fight this on three fronts. The Congress. You might have heard me talk about this. We are going to have legislation to try to keep the guardrails on these out of control billionaires who are just trying to line the pockets of their buddies. We're going to fight this in the court. 65 lawsuits happening right now dealing with these egregious, illegal, lawless executive orders that are trying to take money away from the people who deserve it and need it the most. Workers like you. These people have fired 2,000 people across the country that work for the VA. 2,000 people. And when you add up all of the agencies, 6,000 veterans across the country have lost their job under this administration. It is egregious. It is offensive. It is definitely disrespectful to everyone standing before me. So we're going to fight this in the Congress, the courts, and lastly, the community. Streets. Thank y'all, the streets. That's why I'm here. This is why I'm here. We got to take it to the streets. We got to show them that we are not going to take it and that we are going to fight back. What are we going to do?
Fight back.
What are we going to do?
Fight back.
What are we going to do?
Fight back.
What are we going to do?
Fight back.
We're not going to take it, y'all. So I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for everything that you've done, everything that you're doing, and everything that you will continue to do to help support me as I go back to Washington and stand up and speak out. Because now's not the time to back down. Now's not the time to give in. Now is the time to make your voices heard and be louder than ever. So what are we going to do?
Fight back.
What are we going to do?
Fight back.
What are we going to do?
Fight back.
Let's not let Dodge, the draft dodger, Donald Trump, decide, Mr. Bone Spurs, decide what's right for our veterans. Thank you for your service. God bless you. I'm going back to Washington. Make your voices heard. Call your senators, call your representatives. Let them know you're not standing for the BS, not today and not anymore. All right?
Have a safe flight.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
How
Thank
soon
you.
is your flight? Do you have time for a quick interview?
I can do quick.
You guys want to jump in? Yeah.
What would you like to see?
How about when he lies, which is everything he says? Hold
up a sign, lying.
In there to stand up and say, liar, liar, liar.
So my plan, I like that. My plan is to get into some good trouble, all right? So that's what I'm going to do. All right.
You guys ready?
Yeah, we're good. You good?
Yeah.
Everybody good? We're good.
Okay, perfect. So you were just saying you wanted to make it a point to come out here and see these people before you hop on a flight to hopefully put in what they are wanting into motion.
Yes.
Why was it important for you to make this stop today?
Listen, the veterans are why we're here. The freedom for our country. They fought for freedom. And so we have two people right now occupying the White House who know nothing about service. Everything that they're doing is the opposite of service. They're padding their pockets for their billionaire buddies. While they make millions of dollars per day, these people are fighting for their lives. This is not a game. This is not Minecraft. This is not Fortnite. This is not SpaceX. This is not Twitter. This is not Tesla. You can't tear this up and put it back together. These are people's lives and livelihoods that we're talking about. The decisions that they're making are truly life or death.
How does it feel seeing the people that are out here are the veterans? They're we had somebody just drive by saying, get back to work. These aren't the people, these aren't the employees. These are people showing up for these employees.
Exactly. It goes and speaks to the it speaks to the people who don't know what's happening right now. We've got people who are fighting for not only their livelihood, but the lives of other veterans. These services are essential. People are depending on these services at a time when we should be hiring more workers to protect the people and support the people who have protected us. These folks, Elon Musk and Donald Trump, the draft dodger, are firing folks. They know nothing about service.
So what is your plan to get your message across when you go back to D.C.?
I'm going to stand up, speak up. I'm showing up in the community. Again, it's a three-pronged approach. We're going to fight it in the Congress with legislation. We're going to fight it in the courts with litigation. And we're going to fight it in the streets right here in the community, making sure we show up and speak up and speak out.
Do you think that it'll have an impact?
It absolutely has had an impact. We see in the courts, we are winning some of these cases. The community, if you watch some of the news cycle, you'll see red states are getting pushed back from their community, coming to their town halls, letting them know that they are not happy about what's being happened. There's a lack of transparency. You got Elon Musk calling all of the shots, someone who is not only unelected, but he's unvetted, unconfirmed, and has no accountability to us as the American citizens who they elected Donald Trump. Donald Trump is clearly a puppet for people who are looking for ways to pad their own pocket.
And how, I've heard you say that a couple of times. Just explain, because I don't know, this is not my normal, I'm not usually politics, but explain to me how they're padding their pockets. How would they be getting money from
So where they're trying to say they're looking for waste, fraud, and abuse, and let me be abundantly clear, Democrat, Republicans, Independents do agree we need to get a handle on waste, fraud, and abuse. No one is objecting to that. It's the way that they're doing it. But Elon Musk is unaccountable. So when you're talking about firing folks, the money that they're considering saving or waste, fraud, and abuse is going to essentially be utilized for their Trump 2.0 $4.5 trillion tax cut. That's what this is all about. The bottom line is trying to get money to pay for their tax cuts. So while they're looking for money to pad their own pockets, they're firing folks whose livelihood is on the line. And this again, it's not a game. Their livelihood actually has real life ramifications, life or death situations. People in the VA could essentially, their lives depend on these workers.
I was just wondering if anyone's aware or speaking out against this whole 5-day work on 40 hours at locations on site, because a lot of those information, people are being forced now to decide whether they would like to go against HIPAA violations when they're meeting with their VA or their veteran. Some family members of mine work for the VA, and one of the things that they were discussing is going back to work 5 days a week in an office. My sister, you can't have patients on top of patients. If there's no availability in the area and they're going to give you a cubicle, that cubicle does not give the confidentiality.
Provide the privacy of the, yes.
So you're asking servicemen and women to not only make a relationship with someone as a provider, but then that provider doesn't have the opportunities to continue servicing our veterans.
They're not on the
making
ground.
a choice now, having to decide.
They're not on the ground. They don't know what they're doing. We're talking about someone who runs SpaceX, Tesla, and Twitter. We're talking about a draft dodging billionaire whose father gave him handouts for him to run businesses into the ground, by the way, into the ground. So they don't care about anybody here. They don't know what it's like. They're not flying commercial. So they don't care what happens to the FAA. They're not veterans, so they don't care about veteran services. They don't shop at Dave's and Giant Eagle, so they don't care about the food that we consume. These are people who their kids aren't in public school, so they don't care about the Department of Education. So they're thinking about themselves, and that should be abundantly clear to anybody who's watching. So no, then this is why I'm here, is so I can understand on the ground what's happening, because I'm not arrogant or ignorant to the fact that I don't know everything. So I'm going to come to the people, to where the people are, and stand with them to find out what we need to do to make sure that we keep the guardrails on our democracy, because Donald Trump and Elon Musk have zero regard for it.
And just the fact, too, what they just fired were 2,000 people that substitute the veteran suicide hotline number. Veterans that call in for us to get help to them where they are. How are we going to do that if you cut all the phone lines off?
These are life or death situations. We're talking about people.
death,
Yes,
yes.
these are. So, but they think that they're non-essential. That's what they're calling non-essential workers.
Do you know how many people have been let go from this facility or Ohio in general?
I would yield to one of our folks at the VA, but I know there have been folks who have lost their jobs, and across the country, 2,000 people from the VA have been fired, and across, when you consider all of the agencies, 6,000 veterans have lost their lives. So if you think you can run an organization in the country, just veterans alone, 6,000 people, do you think that that's waste, fraud, and abuse? Again, I would argue that Elon Musk is the waste, Donald Trump is the fraud, and what they're doing is committing abuse on the American people.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Chantel, when in July of 2022, and Tim can attest to this, when we were on Capitol Hill fighting for the PACT Act and the Republican senators blocked it, and we got word of a veteran who committed suicide when he heard it was blocked because he was excited that it passed and he was going to finally get help, and he lost all hope. I can assume that the same thing is happening now, and these are people nobody's going to report on because nobody knows. And when you have veterans that now they found out the suicide hotline is cut, you know, they're going to have nowhere to turn. And so there's a lot of things like that nobody, you reporters aren't going to be there at their homes or questioning their families after they kill themselves. They're not going to tell anybody. And so we have to think about the invisible veterans here that nobody's thinking about.
So these are the real life ramifications that we're talking about. While Elon Musk and Donald Trump are talking about it's just somebody's livelihood, like it's just somebody's salary, like they're just making a cut to a budget to the bottom line. It's not about livelihood. It's about real lives. People's real lives are being impacted. These situations are a matter of life and death in many cases, and we have real people to tell these stories, because when the veterans need the services, they won't be available. So this is not, again, just about cutting the budget. It's about reducing services. So you might not feel it now, but I can assure you, you will feel it later. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Does anybody know how many jobs have been lost here?
On the first layoff, it was 40. They're not saying how many on the second, but we know of at least 2. But they were mental health providers.
Dan DeRose with 19 News. We're going to wrap up some very passionate words from Congresswoman Chantel Brown, who showed up to the VA hospital there in Cleveland to talk about potential cuts to federal workers, especially at the VA hospitals across the country. The number that was thrown out is that 2,000 VA employees who were seen as quote unquote non-essential have been let go from their positions nationwide. We just heard a number from one of the representatives there, that perhaps 40 have been eliminated here in the Cleveland area. Not exactly sure what those positions were and why they were seen as non-essential. This is the blowback that continues from Elon Musk and DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, trying to root out waste and inefficient employees on the federal level to make the federal government smaller and more efficient. If we have any other breaking news, it'll be right here on our digital platforms. Otherwise, our 11 o'clock news is underway on CW43, and coming up at noon, our noon broadcast on Channel 19. Until then, I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News. Have a good afternoon.